I want to bring in Erin Molan, former Australian TV host, been very outspoken in her support of Israel, so much so she's received a lot of death threats, a lot of pushback professionally and personally. I also want to bring in former FBI and CIA counterterror official Phil Mudd. It's good to have you both. Erin, I start with you. I don't know, first of all, it's great to almost meet you in person. We've been talking a lot about these issues and what they mean. You heard what I said up at the top. What do you believe the American audience needs to understand about what radicalized this guy who was not Palestinian, who was not Muslim, but certainly became an agent for the Muslim Brotherhood?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on, Chris. I really appreciate it. I think your words were spot on at the start of your show. You absolutely nailed it. This is one of the greatest threats that we face. Yes, the rising threat of China, absolutely. Look at Qatar, look at Iran. Extremism that already exists in the Western world is utterly terrifying, and we've seen a first-hand example of that. What I would say to the American public is, I care deeply about children in Gaza. The thought of any child hurting is heartbreaking, but I understand who their enemy is. I understand what the threat is, and it's not Israel. It is Islamic extremism, it is terrorism. So if you want to march in the streets and you want to jump onto a cause, do it. We all should. We all should fight vehemently for every single child. But you've got to understand who their enemy is, or you will create circumstances like we saw last night, and that is absolutely tragic.
You know, Phil, you and I have talked about this a lot, you know, and in the years after 9/11, there was a lot of worry. There was basically a case in every state where officials in one of the agencies that you've worked at were trying to identify this homegrown extreme Islamist threat, and then we just decided to worry about other things. What is this a reminder of, what we just witnessed in D.C.?
In some ways, it's a reminder of the transition from a foreign problem, that is the al-Qaeda problem, that a lot of people in America, I think, thought was overseas, to a homegrown problem that is going into 2005, 2010, 2015. A problem like ISIS that we saw, as you said, in 50 states across America, not necessarily connected to Pakistan or Afghanistan, but kids in states and cities across America who said, I want to join up with this movement. But this is bigger. You try to define for me, Chris, the number of people across America who are pro-Palestinian compared to, let's say, pro-Al-Qaeda or pro-ISIS. There's got to be millions, maybe tens of millions. We never saw that in 2010. You take that down, distill that down to the number of those people who might say that violence is appropriate. In some ways, Chris, I guess you could compare this to the homegrown problem we saw 15 years ago, but the numbers don't match up. You cannot stop this. You cannot, as long as war continues. Not a question about who's right or wrong. Numbers game. You can't stop it, Chris.
So, Erin, how do you deal with people saying, and I know it's a circular argument, but the toll in Gaza is so much greater in magnitude, in terms of number and depth of despair, than what happened on October 7th, that the argument becomes October 7th, bad, this, worse.
Chris, what I would say to that, and you're right, again, I reiterate the point that it is utterly devastating. Anybody suffering anywhere in the world who is innocent, my heart breaks for. But you need to understand the position that Israel is in at the moment. And let me say, I'm not Israeli, I'm not Jewish. If on October 8 every hostage had been returned and Hamas had laid down their arms, you could absolutely argue that continued military action in Gaza would be revenge motivated, would not be proportionate to what occurred. But Hamas, on the day of the first ceasefire that was brokered, came out and said publicly on TV, we will repeat what occurred on October 7. We will continue these atrocities over and over and over again. They are still sending bombs over to Israel. They still have hostages. So any anger at suffering and death in Gaza should exist and should be expressed, but we need to understand who is responsible for it. And in my mind, that is Hamas and Hamas alone.
I think it's going to happen a lot more, Phil. I hate saying that. I love being wrong about any catastrophic prediction. But this guy, I call him a kid because I'm so old now. But, this 31-year-old in D.C., I just feel like I see him on every campus. I see him every time I speak about this anywhere. You know, a lot of times they're white, a lot of times they're brown, and they identify with the oppression. And it's almost like they're looking for something to belong to, where it just happens that America's the target. And let's be honest, Phil, when have we ever seen since the 60s it being more appealing to attack America as an American than right now?
Chris, I hate to agree with you, but I would. I mean, if you look at the characteristics of terrorism, which I've followed since the early 90s, there are characteristics you look at. Leadership, there is leadership. We're talking obviously about Hamas, and Hamas can message around the world. There's an issue of openness in this country. Obviously, you have the right to free speech, so you can speak about being pro-Palestinian. But there is this, in the world that I followed years ago at the CIA and the FBI, messaging is critically important. If you look at even the changing messaging globally over the past month, the Europeans are starting to say Israel is wrong. There's a lot of Americans who are uncomfortable with what's happening with Israel. So in the environment where there are a lot of young people absorbing a message, the message being that Israel is too aggressive in what they're doing, that message is becoming more and more prominent in the West. And that means more and more young people are going to start to say, the Israelis got to pay, right or wrong, good or bad. It is obviously bad. There's going to be people who pay. I think you're right. We're going to see more of it.
Well, I'll tell you why. Because this war will end, but they don't need it to be Israel. They were coming after us. There are plenty of people in the region who see us as 100 times worse than Israel, and there's going to be ample opportunity. And you're right. In America, you get to say whatever you say, and you can organize, and you can do all these things that other places don't let you do. And we're literally architects of our own disadvantage, and that's the burden of a democracy. Hey, Erin, I hope we get to have a lot more conversations. I know you're doing so much work all around the world. I'm always available if you can come on from anywhere to discuss what's happening and why. Thank you for doing it tonight, okay? And to be continued. Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.